call to order the October 10th meeting of the Watertown Board of Education. I ask that we all please rise to salute the flag, led by Mr. Lambert.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Lambert. Mindy?
Mr. Mikowski?
Here.
Ms. Rinaldi?
Here.
Ms. Wilk?
Here.
Mr. Lambert?
Here.
Ms. Crotty?
Here.
Mr. Vincenzi?
Here.
Ms. Rosa? Here. Mr. Gambardella? Ms. Albino?
Here.
Ms. Dante? Here.
Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item D, there is a correction to tonight's agenda. I would like to share that following action item K, we need to strike the letter L. And then M under future agenda item becomes L. N, public participation, becomes M. And O, adjournment, becomes N. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. All right, board members should have received the minutes from the September 11th, 2017 meeting of the Board of Education. Did everybody receive those?
Yes.
Are there any questions, concerns, edits? Okay, thank you, Mrs. Davidson, for those, and Mrs. Wilk, thank you for reviewing them on behalf of the board. Is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
Motion. One abstention, Mrs. Wilk, excuse me, Mrs. Rinaldi. Motion carries. Paula, report from your student council
Good
representative.
evening, everyone. I have some news to share with you guys. Thanks to the awesome PTO, over 800 ice cream sundaes were provided during last week's open house when 92% of all John Trumbull families attended for grades K, 1, and 2. Teachers have been busy with one-on-one testing with every student in their class in preparation for DRA and Dibbles. You can now follow Polk School on Twitter at PolkESFecity for important updates and announcements. The first Golden Bucket ceremony was held on Friday, September 29th, and recognized 20 students for outstanding and consistent demonstration of respect, responsibility, and safety. Ms. Gavigan and Mr. Serrero will be directing this year's 5th grade play. Judson also had a successful open house and book fair that resulted in a variety of books being donated to the library. They are grateful to the PTO, who purchased 30 Chromebooks and a smart TV for the school, who also supported the open house with more ice cream. A kickoff assembly was held for the STARS program that encourages the PBIS program that's been developed through working with the school leadership team. On Thursday, October 5th, Swift Middle School held their annual Mentor Breakfast, which has been in effect for the last decade. Mentors from the community met their mentees for the first time while enjoying breakfast and getting to know each other through activities. The school honored Ava Genovese, Alex Valley, Cami Labella, Jake Barberi, Peyton Howard, Sophia Angiolini, and Mason LaCapra as September Student of the Month for their enthusiastic spirit. Watertown welcomed the FBI, who provided timely and much-needed information to seniors regarding the opioid crisis on Wednesday, September 27th. New members were inducted into our Tri-M Honor Society for their musical talents and commitment to success. Guidance is currently meeting with all seniors and their parents to review post-secondary plans and graduation status. On Wednesday, October 11th, all 9th, 10th, and 11th grade students will take the PSATs, while seniors are encouraged to use this day to visit colleges or possible job shadowing. That is all.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dante. That was excellent, very thorough. And as Dr. Cardamolo likes to say, you make the superintendent's report a little bit easier.
Happy to be here.
On Dr. Cardamolo's behalf and on Dr. Parlato's behalf, I do have the superintendent's update as we move into item F on the agenda. Since it's been since September 11th that we met, we do have a variety of updates. Starting with the week of September 22nd, Dr. Cardamola spent much time at John Trumbull Primary School, at the high school, and on Swift. She also went to Polk on the Friday. There were 2 sessions of district learning walks that took place at Swift Middle School and the high school. A total of 15 teachers participated in those 2 sessions, and the focus of those learning walks at both schools was to observe and analyze 3 particular questions: what are students doing, what are they saying, and what is the task? Dr. Parlato held update meetings at John Trumbull and Swift with Ms. Archibald that week. The topics of those meetings included planning for the September 28th, October 6th, and October 25th professional development sessions. In terms of community engagement, Dr. Cardamola went to the girls' soccer game for a bit on Tuesday of that week, followed by the Watertown High School PTO meeting, accompanied by Mrs. Rinaldi and myself. Dr. Cardamola had held community hours at the Watertown Public Library on Thursday afternoon, and she also attended the annual Friends of Watertown Public Library meeting on that Thursday. Mrs. Brown and Dr. Cardamola attended an insurance update meeting at the Annex along with our town manager and the town finance manager on that week. Their ongoing issues were related to Cigna, where the switch was discussed, as well as plans to continue working with employees to sign up for all of the related services that Cigna is offering, including prescription options and teledocs. They're both in place to help them save money. Dr. Cardamola and Dr. Parlato met with the Watertown Education Association, which is the teachers' union, that Monday evening. They only had minor concerns which were related to the budget or lack thereof from the state and how it may impact the unions. Mr. Senacola, Mrs. Brown, and Dr. Cardamola met with the architect and the interior designer for the Hemingway Park project. They made minor changes to the plans, not adding anything, and they had already ensured that, let me back up for a minute. When the plans were reviewed, it was noticed that there was no area for the Board of Education to have a kitchen and a copy area. So they have combined those areas together so that there is everything there that they need. The IT department completed 53 school due tickets, continued to work on the new controller and wireless access points that they are installing. They also completed the work on the Blackboard Connect data collection tool for parents, which should be ready to push out to parents in the next few weeks. The following week, on beginning September 29th, again, Dr. Cardamola spent quite a bit of time in the schools. She was at John Trumbull at the high school on Monday, Tuesday morning and afternoon, and again on Wednesday for the opioid presentation to students. She was at Polk Tuesday afternoon and Judson on Wednesday. There were another 2 sessions of district learning walks that took place. Dr. Parlato again held update meetings at the schools and met with a representative from our Regional Education Service Center at Advance to review the variety of professional services that are now available. In terms of community engagement, Dr. Parlato, along with Dr. Cardamola, myself, attended the opioid presentation for parents and community members, as Paula outlined to us. Mrs. Brown and Dr. Cardamola handled an HR issue between 2 employees that week and dealt with a related issue to food service. Ms. Lorraine Barker did her best wrapping up her last week at the Watertown Board of Education. Lorraine has been an employee since May of 2009 in the demanding position of payroll clerk, and she had been instrumental in moving the business office into the 21st century with the addition of Time Clock Plus, ASOP, and the HDHP HSA insurance plan. For the past month, Mrs. Barker has worked with Ms. Diane Thomas to acclimate her to Watertown's payroll and the iVision's accounting software. We wish her well in her retirement, and we welcome Diane Thomas to her new role. Report this week is compliments of our Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Parlato, who has been watching over the district in her Assistant Superintendent role while Dr. Cardamola is on medical leave. Dr. Parlato reports that there was a district-wide professional development day on Friday, October 6th. There was a workshop about learning targets presented in each school by the building administrators. This is the 3rd year that they have emphasized the use of learning targets in their professional development. Other workshops presented on Friday included analyzing standardized test information, developing student achievement goals for the year, using priority standards to plan lessons, creating math lessons for primary students and analyzing student assignments for their level of challenge. All of the workshops in each school were planned and delivered by the building administrators with the support of Dr. Parlato. The first series of district learning walks concluded last week. 6 sessions of learning walks took place over the course of 2 weeks. Teachers from each school visited classrooms in a school other than their own. The focus of the series of learning walks was upon the types of assignments and tasks that students complete as part of their classwork. Teachers visiting classrooms as a part of the learning walks discussed patterns in the types of assignments and tasks they saw, and they determined the various types of thinking that students must do while they were working on their assignments. Importantly, learning walks allow the teachers to see instruction in different grade levels and in different schools where they not only gain new ideas, but they can ensure that students' learning increases in complexity over time. There will be a winter and spring series of learning walks this year to continue to encourage the ways our district-wide teaching and learning are aligned. Dr. Parlato, at this time, do you have anything else you'd like me to add to your report?
May I add one thing?
Absolutely. You want to come up to the mic?
I will.
Thank you.
I'd like to acknowledge that tomorrow is the last day for one of the secretaries in the central office, along with Mrs. Barker, who concluded her career on September 30th. Helen Rink has been secretary to the assistant superintendent, and then secretary to director of curriculum, and it was that title, and now secretary to the assistant superintendent again. So she concluded her career with the title that she began with. She had 38 years of service to the Watertown Public Schools. Always emphasizing integrity and accuracy and excellence in her work. She began as a paraprofessional, then was a secretary at Hemingway Park School, and eventually came to the central office. So I just like to acknowledge Mrs. Rink's work and thank her for all those years of service to the Watertown Public Schools.
Thank you, Dr. Parlato. I'm very glad you brought that up. Helen has been, as you said, an employee for 38 years and has had her hand in almost everything that this district is today, and we really will miss her and wish her well. Thank you. There are transfers, resignations, and amendments to appointments that were included in your packet on the agenda. Are there any questions related to those? Okay, moving on to item G, public participation. Our first round, any members of the public wish to address the board this evening? One last chance. Any members of the public wish to address the board this evening? Okay, seeing none, we'll turn to item H on the agenda, committee reports. Mrs. Rinaldi, curriculum and instruction.
Nothing at this time.
Mr. Vicenzi, policy and labor.
No report.
Mr. Lambert, budget and finance.
I wish I had a report, but, because of the issues in Hartford, sadly, there is no report.
Thank you, Mr. Lambert. And back to you for facilities, PBC, and operations.
As far as the PVC side, I reviewed the drawings of the municipal center, the topography of the upper and lower parking lot. Seems to be quite a bit of a problem there with the stairs. I think there will be anyways, but there's a 15-foot height variation between the upper parking lot and the lower parking lot, which means there's going to be at least 27 stairs. In the wintertime, that's going to be an issue. They broke it down into 2 landings, so the overall drop would be like 7.5 feet. And I reviewed them, and I asked them to see if they could break it down into 3 landings, so the drop would only be 5 feet. In case anybody fell, there wouldn't be a 15-foot drop over the stairs. So they're reviewing that, see if we have enough length to put in 3 landings at that point. So I'm waiting for that to happen. So I will report what they find.
Thank you, Mr. Lambert. Not only representing the Board of Education on that committee, but as a resident and a taxpayer and a concerned community member, I appreciate you drawing their attention to the issue with the stairs very much. So thank you for that, and we look forward to your update at our next meeting. Moving on to item I, communications. Mrs. Wilk, is there anything to report?
Yes, I did receive, we received a letter or a card saying, members of Board of Ed, a special thank you for brightening my day with a beautiful bouquet of flowers that were sent to me during my recent surgery. Thank you, Josephine Rosa.
Thank you. And Mrs. Rosa, we're all very happy to see you healthy and looking beautiful as ever.
Thank
So,
you. Thank you.
We like sending flowers to our friends, but not the reasons why we have to send them. Moving on to item J.
Madam
report.
Chair?
Yes, please.
I have no report for governance community engagement. Just
knew
keeping you
that.
honest.
I knew that. I knew that. Thank you, Mr. Murkowski, our Chair of Governance and Community Engagement. Moving on to item J, report from the Board Chair. As a member of the Juvenile Review Board, I heard 4 cases with my counterparts on the Juvenile Review Board. 4 cases of the last 3 weeks. We do have 2 more cases coming up in the next 2 weeks. I had attended both the Watertown High School and Swift PTO as our normal yearly board chair welcome to start the school year, and I intend on doing that at the other schools within the next 4 weeks. In September, along with many others, I attended the opioid presentation for the community at Watertown High School. As you know, in an effort to combat the growing epidemic of prescription drug and heroin abuse, not only countrywide but statewide and townwide, the FBI and the DEA released Chasing the Dragon, The Life of an Opioid Addict, a documentary that was aimed at educating students and young adults about the dangers of addiction. Together with the DEA, the FBI, the Watertown Police Department, and Watertown Public Schools, the film was presented to both high school seniors and the community members in the evening. The presentation will be run again in the spring of 2018 for Watertown High School juniors. I highly recommend the film to adults wishing to view it and then making their own decision of whether or not they'd like to share it with their children. They can do that at www.fbi.gov or by searching Chasing the Dragons. Again, I am highly recommending the film to adults to view it, to see what's going on and what the message from the DEA and the FBI are, and then to determine on your own if you'd like to share that with anybody else. On Tuesday, October 24th, the Wall of Honor ceremony will take place at 6:15 in the main foyer of the high school. This year's Wall of Honor recipient is Chief Master Sergeant Ray Lagasse from Watertown High School's class of 1981. You'll hear about Mr. Lagasse, and all I'll say now is that his inspirational leadership throughout his 30-year career in the Air Force will be recognized, and I encourage anybody in the community to join us as we honor him. Very few people receive this honor. There is a nomination and application process that's available on the school's website, and he will be added on the wall in the foyer of the high school along with the small number other recipients that we've honored in that way. As I have stated before and ad nauseum for most of you here and some of you that may be listening and to my colleagues, it's important that every person in this room and watching online stay educated and informed on the budget issue in the state. As I promised, I will continue to provide you with factual Board of Ed relevant information at our meetings. Tonight, I have 4 points for you as it relates to the budget. There has not been an opportunity for the House or the Senate to take up an override of the governor's budget veto. This is not the place to determine why or to discuss why. But state law and process requires that a member of the House make the override motion. There are not enough votes in the House for it to pass, so no motion has been made. The governor, second point, the governor remains in sole control of state finances by way of executive order. As a reminder, EO 58, Executive Order 58, cuts education cost sharing in Watertown by $9,402,540. EO 58 currently only addresses cuts, no form of revenue, so we can expect many more EOs in the near future. My third point, the Senate Majority Leader sought a legal opinion from the Attorney General regarding the legality of the governor's cuts as it relates to education, as they force some districts to be under the MBR, the minimum budget requirement, and affect school districts' ability to provide certain student services that are required by law. The Attorney General provided an opinion to the Senate Majority Leader that it is not legal. The Connecticut Education Association is seeking an injunction from the courts to prevent the governor from putting cuts from EO 58 into place citing the illegality. The Connecticut Education Association is reaching out to cities and towns and asking them to join in on the legal action. Watertown has not been asked at this point, nor do I think we would get involved on that level. I believe that our government will, let me back up. If the CEA asks us, we certainly, under the direction of Dr. Cardamolo and this board, would talk about it, but we have no plans on doing that as of today. My fourth point, where does this leave us? Our leaders of our state remain in special session. If the Democratic and Republican caucuses of the House and Senate cannot come to a consensus on a budget by February 7th, the special session will end and the general session will begin. Now, a lot of people say that the February 7th deadline is a meaningless deadline. It's not really a deadline. It just means that the special session they're in now, with no budget, ends and the general session begins. Why I think it's important is because the general session is usually used to pass important legislation in our state. And instead, they'll be focusing on budgetary issues throughout the rest of the year. As stated in the last meeting, we will continue to strategize for the worst-case scenarios, but after speaking with some people in the past 48 hours, I do see a little bit of hope, but as of right now, we are planning both on the town and the school side to be cut $11 million between the two of us. So that work continues. Moving on to item K, action items. Adoption of items to be approved by consent. There is an approval request for an overnight field trip to Camp Natasha in Watertown, Connecticut. Is there a motion to accept it as it was presented to the board?
Yes, Madam Chair, I move that the board approve of the field trip to Camp Natasha in Watertown, Connecticut from December 1st, 2017 through December 2nd, 2017 for approximately 20 Watertown High School students as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. The field trip is approved. I do want to mention that the purpose of that field trip is to promote positive relationships between the new and existing members of the robotics team. Number 2, consideration of the approval of an out-of-country field trip to Montreal and Quebec City, Canada. Do we have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I move that the board approve the out-of-country field trip to Montreal and Quebec City, Canada from September 20th, 2018 through September 23rd, 2018 for approximately 40 to 50 Watertown High School students as presented.
Thank you, Mrs. Wilk. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Mr. Lambert?
Yes, Madam Chair, my granddaughter went to the field trip last year from the French Club and learned an awful lot, had a lot of fun. People were friendly. The architecture was just beautiful. And she really came away from that trip really impressed with what they saw. So I highly recommend it.
Thank you, Mr. Lambert. I just will mention, as Mr. Lambert alluded to, the purpose of the trip is to give students the opportunity to encounter and practice the French language in an authentic setting and to learn Canadian history. Moving on to item 3, consideration of the approval of the acceptance of a gift. Oh, did we vote? No, we did not. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Field trip passes. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lambert. Item number 3, consideration of the approval of the acceptance of a gift. Is there a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair. I move the board accept the generous donation of a clarinet valued at $800 to Judson Elementary School by Miss Jennifer Shea, and that a letter of appreciation be sent to the donor.
Thank you very much. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. The gift is accepted, and I will mention that if that doesn't illustrate how expensive musical instruments are, I don't know what does, but we are extremely grateful for that. Item L, future agenda items and board member comments. Do any board members have any comments they'd like to make at this time, or suggestions for future agenda items? Okay, Seeing none, I'll move on to the last round of public participation. Any members of the public wish to address the board this evening? Last chance. Any any members of the public wish to address the board? Okay. Seeing none, I will move for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We are adjourned. The time is 7:55.